The morning sun cast golden rays through the airport terminal as Zara Williams adjusted her designer blazer and checked her boarding pass one final time. At 25, she carried herself with quiet confidence, her natural hair styled perfectly, briefcase in hand. As the daughter of Marcus Williams, CEO of Williams Tech Corporation, she was accustomed to first-class travel, but today felt different somehow. First-class passengers, we welcome you to board Flight 447 to Chicago, the gate agent announced cheerfully. Zara smiled politely as she handed over her boarding pass and made her way down the jet bridge. The flight attendant, Lisa Chen, greeted passengers with professional warmth. Zara found her seat, 2A, and settled in comfortably, pulling out her tablet to review presentation notes for tomorrow's board meeting. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through the cabin's quiet atmosphere. Karen Hayes, a middle-aged woman with perfectly coiffed blonde hair, stood in the aisle pointing directly at Zara. Her face flushed red with indignation as she clutched her designer purse like a weapon. "There must be some mistake," Karen declared loudly, ensuring every passenger could hear. "That girl cannot possibly afford a first-class seat. I demand you check her ticket immediately." Several passengers looked up from their phones and magazines, sensing drama brewing. Lisa Chen approached cautiously, her training kicking in. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" Lisa asked Karen, though her eyes darted nervously toward Zara. "Yes, there is a problem." Karen's voice rose another octave. "I refuse to sit next to someone who clearly doesn't belong in first class. Check her ticket." Zara looked up calmly from her tablet, meeting Karen's hostile glare with steady composure. "My ticket is perfectly valid," she said evenly, her voice carrying quiet authority. "I'm in my assigned seat." "I don't believe that for 1 second," Karen snapped back. "People like you don't fly first class." Other passengers began pulling out their phones, sensing something significant was happening. The familiar glow of recording screens lit up throughout the cabin. Derek Hayes, Karen's husband, emerged from the bathroom and quickly assessed the situation. A tall man in an expensive suit, he immediately sided with his wife. "What's going on here?" Derek demanded, his tone aggressive. "Your wife is questioning my right to be in my assigned seat," Zara replied calmly, though her jaw tightened slightly. "Well, maybe she has a point," Derek said, crossing his arms. "This seems highly unusual." Lisa Chen found herself trapped between company policy and passenger pressure. Despite knowing Zara's ticket was legitimate, she felt overwhelmed by the confrontation. "Miss, would you mind showing me your boarding pass again?" Lisa asked reluctantly. The request sent a ripple of murmurs through the cabin. Several passengers shook their heads in disbelief at what they were witnessing. "This is completely unacceptable," Zara stated firmly, standing to address the flight attendant directly. "I have shown you my valid ticket. I am a paying passenger in my assigned seat. I will not be moved because of someone else's prejudice." But the damage was already done. Security personnel appeared at the aircraft door, summoned by the growing disturbance. Despite protests from other passengers who had witnessed the entire exchange, Zara was asked to leave the plane to de-escalate the situation. As Zara walked down the aisle with dignity intact, phones continued recording. The footage captured her grace under pressure, Karen's smug satisfaction, and Derek's approving nod. "This isn't over," Zara said quietly as she passed the Hayes couple. Within 3 hours, the videos had spread across social media like wildfire. The hashtag flight discrimination began trending nationally. News outlets picked up the story, and reporters scrambled to identify the key players involved. Marcus Williams was in his corner office when his assistant burst through the door with urgent news. "Sir, you need to see this immediately," she said, pulling up the viral video on her tablet. Marcus watched in growing anger as his daughter was humiliated and removed from the aircraft. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his phone to call his legal team. "Get me our head of human resources," he commanded his assistant, "and run a full background check on everyone involved in this incident." The corporate investigation moved with lightning speed. Within hours, Derek Hayes was identified as a senior marketing director at Williams Tech Corporation, a detail that made Marcus Williams as flush with cold determination. "Pull his employment file immediately," Marcus instructed his HR director, Sarah Thompson. "I want every performance review, every complaint, every interaction documented." Sarah's team worked through the night, uncovering a disturbing pattern. Derek's file contained multiple complaints about inappropriate comments toward minority colleagues, hostile behavior during diversity training sessions, and resistance to inclusive hiring practices. Previous managers had noted these issues but failed to take decisive action. The emergency board meeting convened at 8 a.m. sharp. Marcus presented the evidence methodically, his voice steady but his anger barely contained. "This man represents everything our company stands against," Marcus declared to the board members. His actions on that aircraft weren't isolated incidents. They reflect a pattern of discriminatory behavior that we can no longer ignore. Board member Janet Rodriguez nodded gravely. "The company's reputation is at stake. Our diversity initiatives mean nothing if we harbor employees who act this way in public." The vote was unanimous. Meanwhile, the airline faced mounting pressure from social media campaigns and threatened boycotts. CEO Amanda Foster called an emergency press conference, announcing immediate policy changes and mandatory bias training for all staff. Derek Hayes received the termination call while still celebrating his victory from the previous day. His dismissal was immediate and public, with Williams Tech Corporation releasing a statement condemning his actions and reaffirming their commitment to equality and inclusion. The termination letter was delivered to Derek's office within 24 hours of the flight incident. His access cards were deactivated, his company accounts closed, and his reputation in the tech industry effectively destroyed. Karen Hayes watched in horror as her husband's career crumbled. Realizing too late that their moment of prejudice had cost them everything, the airline issued a formal apology to Zara Williams, offering compensation and implementing new anti-discrimination protocols. Flight attendants received enhanced training on recognizing and confronting bias, ensuring no passenger would face similar treatment again. 3 weeks later, Zara stood at a podium addressing 500 corporate leaders at the National Diversity Summit. The same composure that had served her during the flight incident now commanded respect from the audience. "That day on the airplane, I wasn't just defending my right to a seat," she said, her voice carrying across the silent auditorium. "I was defending every person who has ever been told they don't belong somewhere." Justice isn't just about punishment. It's about creating change that prevents future victims. The audience rose in thunderous applause as Zara concluded her speech. In the back row, Lisa Chen, the flight attendant who had learned valuable lessons about courage and standing up for what's right, wiped tears from her eyes and applauded louder than anyone else. Marcus Williams watched his daughter with immense pride, knowing that sometimes the most powerful victories come not from revenge, but from turning moments of injustice into catalysts for lasting change. The flight that began with discrimination had landed safely at its true destination: justice, hope, and a better future for everyone.